Hello everybody and welcome to Robin's TV Extra Time, the show where we take a closer look at Bristol City's results and performances from across the season. Today we are reflecting on Bristol City's first league defeat of the season at home to Oxford United, where the score was 3-1. We're going to take a look at all of that, the match highlights and perhaps a tactical look, an explanation as to how things unfolded. I'm Alex Wood, and joining me here in the studio today we have club legend Lewis Carey, who was on commentary for the game today, getting a little bit chilly out there in the Ashton Gate sort of week one winter sunshine. What did you make of it? What did you make of the game? Obviously, first league defeat for Bristol City, but you know, there were moments, there were chances. It felt fairly open, but it just wasn't to be. It wasn't their day.
Yeah, I think the outcome, again, we all at times get caught up in the outcome, don't we? And the outcome was that we lost the game, first home defeat, and we could be really disappointed. However, the manager's going to look at it. There'll be lots of things he was really pleased with, and there'll be areas, that, as always, that you're going to look to improve on, i.e. defending set play, stopping counter-attacks. But when you look back at the game, or when you were in the game, one, it was an enjoyable game to watch, but two, there was enough opportunities for Bristol City entering the final third to make more of those situations and score more goals than they did. And so far this season, they've blown some teams away. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in this game.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment, actually, in many ways. We saw that the shot count was fairly consistent. City, I say, had their chances, not too dissimilar from the game at Sheffield Wednesday, the game against Hull. So there'll be plenty to take away there. But as I say, defensively, perhaps a few question marks around some of the goals today.
Very much so, but more so with regards to when you're playing against a team that are in the bottom of the league, they're not gonna come out all guns blazing. They're not gonna play brilliant football. They did surprise me that they tried to play. It won't be free flowing. They're gonna play for set plays and try and quieten the crowd. So it's really important to make sure you get that first contact. Your setup's right to get the first contact. If you lose the first contact, then second and third. And unfortunately, we lost too many of them today, and I think that's the area that manager will be most disappointed with.
Let's take a look at the goals then from an Oxford United perspective, because I think that the common thread here, and you've pretty much hit the nail on the head, it was the set pieces. And if it wasn't the first phase, it was the second phase. So this was the opener for Oxford United. Just talk us through it.
Well, first off is an incredible delivery, really well-timed run, good running, good diving header. I actually thought Knight and Sykes' position should have been more towards like us now, towards the bottom of the TV screen to stop. Because when somebody lines up like this to do this type of whip crossing behind the back four, you know where it's going to go. You know it's going in there. So I thought the depth of the team was okay. It was just maybe if you create more of a visual hindrance, it'd make it more difficult to get over. But here, again, first phase, there were many corners before this that we struggled to deal with. Now, this was just one right at the end of the first half, and it's the one probably time that we did get a first contact, and we sort of mishit it. However, we're quite slow out to the ball, and we don't quite make the last step on the player, so we allow him to have a free strike. But the actual touch and technique and ball striking skills was incredible.
Yeah, that's probably the one part of that you can't take away from the player Plaqueta for Oxford United. It is some strike, but I guess it's just as you say, it's that clearance in that moment just wasn't quite enough to allow City to clear their lines and actually get away from the danger.
Very much so, especially being in sort of the last minute of the game. And again here, it's an in-swinger, so is the line too deep? Isn't the line too deep? Also, if the line shuffles slightly towards the wall, that doesn't leave such a big space to come in, because it shouldn't be that a ball can come in and bounce in the 6-yard box, if that makes sense. So if somebody's there, they head the ball. Whereas if the left back here who has a little duck, it's really hard then for Mayulu to get any type of clearance on it. Whereas if it comes in at head height, if you're higher up the pitch, then you can head clear the ball or you can compete. And once it ducks, and we always tell the young players, always deliver those set plays to go in the far stick. Always gives the keeper no chance.
And we saw Rob Atkinson, unfortunately, limp off in the first half. To what extent do you think his departure perhaps had a bearing on City's defensive sort of organisation in some of that? Do you think that was a factor, obviously replaced by George Tanner, but you do miss, I think, a physical presence like Rob Atkinson, certainly at the sort of set pieces as we saw?
Yeah, it's not saying that George Tanner, didn't do very well, is it? Or it's not saying that he was at fault in those set plays. However, I think you're absolutely spot on. So if we go back to any game so far this season, we've said that he's been this sort of leather magnet, hasn't he, in the middle of the goal, and the volume of headers that he has won from set plays and crosses has been incredible. is his presence for one, but it is his organisational skills. Now he might have got that line slightly higher, he might have pulled it slightly more towards the, towards where the ball was coming from, and I'm sure he'd have been there to head majority of those away. Those little instances there, it wouldn't have been him maybe clearing it with his foot. So. Is a tricky one to answer. However, I think when you lose that presence from set plays, I think it's huge.
Well, hopefully, I say, we'll await some news from the club as to regards, the extent of the injury or what it was, and we hope we'll see him back in a City shirt very soon. But you wanted to pick up, and you did, in fact, on commentary, the way in which Oxford United were exploiting certain areas of the pitch, and you felt, there was certainly progression, or certainly an area that they were targeting. Just talk us through exactly what you saw happening.
Well, Bristol City play with a back three, don't they? So they want to control the game, but to control the game, they want their wing backs to get really high. Now, a lot of times in the games, if we just pause it there, a lot of times in the games, and you see here, Sykes and McCrory are really high up the pitch, and at times they're crossing the ball to each other. Now, the back four of Oxford are really, really narrow. The right back's actually, just coming into the shadow there, so he's halfway across the pitch. They always create City a 2v1 on the fullbacks at the moment with Mehmeti and McCrory. So there's huge benefits that when we cross the ball, McCrory gets chances and so on and so on. However, Paqueta's positioning to not go all the way back and always stand the other side of the two meant that they could keep breaking into these spaces. Our 2-6s by the referee can't stop the counter-attack. So it's really important that the back three, one of them step out. So if we let the ball run, from these situations now, he was always Paqueta running three, and it's 3-on-2 at the back. Now, if he switches the ball the other side of the pitch there, where the player with the arms up is fuming. Now, my point was that this kept happening. So, from these situations, they got a lot of throw-ins, a lot of corners, and a lot of free kicks. And I thought that was the area that allowed Oxford to get up the pitch and, I suppose, hurt City with regards to gaining more territory, free kicks, throw-ins.
I mean, you could see it, and there were quite a few examples of that, certainly with Paqueta, either instigating or certainly being on the end of the sort of phase. But it wasn't all Oxford, and keen to sort of highlight that really. Certainly in the first half, we saw City respond quite positively actually after the first goal. And on another day, Emil Rees might well have had a bag full of goals to his name. We'll take a look at the sort of montage of chances, but. I mean, certainly from a fan's perspective, you'd be pleased with the way that City responded in the first half, wouldn't you? It just didn't seem to be their day.
No, very much so. City still dominated the ball, and again, it was set plays that were causing a problem. They were targeting the second post. We have McCrory, who you would want to get on the end of those. He's disappointed there. You can tell in his face. He jumps early, he arrives, he just can't head it down. However, from this set play, look, and is it Twine on the goalkeeper, blocking the goalkeeper? You could see that it was something they were looking to target. But from these sort of situations, I thought City were excellent with some of their little intricate play in and around the box, little reverse passes like this for Rees, well timing the runs, good forward runs, everybody running forward. But it was just certain little things like whether Oxford had something to hold on to. So they were defending for their lives, they were throwing their bodies in front of everything, they were celebrating all the small wins and so on and so on. But again, City created so many opportunities from final third entries. It gained corners. Again, Dickie a little bit disappointed he hasn't headed it on goal. But it was blocking the goalkeeper again. So it's something that they've worked on. But it was the little slip passes and so on that created again situations to throw the ball in the box, and this is just one of the clearances of the season. It's an incredible thing for any young lad, any player watching. Always play until the ball's out of play. That is exceptionally good. But again, the goalkeeper's getting blocked out, and
who's on the second ball as well? It's another Oxford player.
And again, it was when that was where they were breaking from, where they were causing issues. But the actual ability and mobility to be able to do that was incredible. But I thought City, it was all like this in around the box. They were. It's really hard to explain to people. They watch Man City and they think everything's got to be slow and so on and so on. It's not. It's runs in behind, playing the ball in between defender, fullback and centre back. It causes loads of problems. And again, Rees can't believe how he's even missed this one. We said on commentary, I think he knew it was offside and he was passing it back for the free kick. But again, City were calm and they were confident. But the problems that Rees was causing running down the sides of fullback and centre back was incredible. And even when you watch this one back, it's the second touch that he has is the touch where you could tell he's not quite confident.
Yeah, well, just I was going to say, is he caught in two minds, do you think, here?
I do think there's something in his mind about passing it, but it's this one. So you see his eyes come up and he has a touch, and it's a short touch, it's close to his feet and it's to the right.
Yeah.
So it allows the defender to come back, it pushes him further away from goal, and he just didn't quite have the, what's the word, he didn't quite look fluid when he was running forward, or as smooth as he has been in previous games. However, you know, with his record so far, how he started the season in pre-season, you know, we can't really fault him too much.
No, I mean, still 3 goals to his name for the season already. It just felt like it wasn't quite his day in some respects today. But talking of goals, and seemingly amongst them, you know, for fun at the moment, is a certain Anis Mehmeti, who we talked about pre-match, didn't we? I think in the studio, certainly with Dennis, who was here on the game, about him being a real threat at the moment. And he always, you know, has that ability, Anis. But 4 goals now for the season already. Scored his 4th against Oxford, and what a goal it was. It's
an incredible goal. I think he adds so much value to the team, especially with the way the manager wants to play. He's a really good ball carrier, he's a really good dribbler. He makes things happen, and he's a game changer. You know, he could be frustrating at times, but the referee does really well to get out of the way. It's the little shift inside. You know, they were putting crosses in the box, so people are thinking it's going to come to the back post where we got the overload again. However, you know, he changes his mind at the last minute and decides I'm not going to cross it. You know, it's in a really good position. The referee's out of the way and I'm going to have a strike. And, you know, it wasn't one of those where they bend it round. He's just toe to the floor and struck through the ball beautifully, and to get it up over the keeper, around the centre-back and down under the crossbar. And it always looks better when it comes off of the crossbar. But it is a brilliant strike, and something that he's more than capable of. And the goals last season and this season so far have been exceptional for a 10-stroke winger.
Absolutely, yeah. His output has been it's been second to none. But yeah, I mean, that sort of really was the best of the bunch, wasn't there? There were a couple more perhaps half chances or moments in the second half for City, but certainly that late goal from Oxford, or coming as late as it did, pretty much wrapped up the game. But let's put it in sort of the bigger picture. Look, 6 games played in the Championship. That's their first defeat out of those 6 games. They started the day 3rd. They finished the day 3rd in the table. I think if you offered that to most City fans at the start of the season, they'd have taken it. Would you?
Very much so. I think, you know, Gary Johnson always used to say to us years ago that after 6, 7, 8 games, you look at the table and you get a feel that that's where teams will be. The Championship is as crazy as always. You know, Oxford, second bottom, beat, you know, Bristol City, who were 3rd, and the same with Sheffield Wednesday yesterday, and so on and so on. So it can happen. I think the next sort of 4 or 5 games for Bristol City are going to be key, because they'll be playing teams, you know, in the top half of the table, so it'll be more of a challenge. However, those type of games, when the game's more open and they can counter-attack into space, might suit them. I think the manager, again, like we said, would be disappointed with a couple of things. He'll still want more of an impact from players coming off the bench at the moment. That's something he will look at. However, looking at his squad now, being 3rd in the league after 6, I think he'd be delighted.
Absolutely. Well, Lewis, we'll probably leave it there for this week on Robins TV Extra Time. So it wasn't to be up against Oxford United at Ashton Gate. But thank you very much for joining us here in the studio and for your commentary of the game. I'm sure we'll see you again here very soon. But up next for Bristol City, it is a trip to Preston. Of course, Emil Reese's former team. Leroy will be sitting down with the striker ahead of his return to his former club. Do join us if you can. We'll be live here on Robins TV from 2:30 for that one. We'd love to see you there. Thanks very much. Have a good week. We'll see you at the weekend. Bye-bye.